From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate. Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
This is a global war already. How is this not a world war already? You have to be absolutely unrealistic to even think or claim that this is a regional war. Ladies and gentlemen, as some commentators in the United Kingdom have been saying, if in place of Iran, this had been Russia that was firing missiles everywhere, you would have called it World War III. Let's get realistic. This is a world war already. 5 visuals that I need to bring you all up to date with. First, Tehran, in what I believe is World War III. A sports complex hit today. Missiles hit the Azadi complex, destroy the sports arena. Visual number 2, F-35 shooting down an Iranian fighter jet. An Israeli F-35 Adir operated by Israel tracking an Iranian Yak-130 fighter jet. Ladies and gentlemen, explosion as the jet hits the ground. Visual 3, Israeli interceptors halting an Iranian missile. These are interceptions by the Iron Dome of Israel. Visual number 2 from Qom in Iran. The satellite images showing strikes on Iranian air defense systems in Qom in Iran. Visual number 5 of an IDF strike on a Hezbollah structure, southern Lebanon. Ladies and gentlemen, southern Lebanon. And ladies and gentlemen, while these visuals are playing out, we can see that the world is divided into 3 divisions. The first, a group of countries in direct conflict with Iran, which are Israel and the USA. Ladies and gentlemen, we can see that the globe is divided into 3 divisions. The first, a group of countries which are in direct conflict with Iran, which is Israel and USA. The second is a group of countries consisting of those nations who are allies of America and the US. Military facilities are being targeted by Iran in these countries. These are the 9 Gulf nations, which are Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, Cyprus, Oman, and UAE, followed by now UK, Greece, Azerbaijan, and finally the group of 6 countries indirectly involved in this war, which are France, China, Russia, Germany, and Australia. So if you look at it, this is already very much a global war. I'm afraid the graphics are not playing out in sequence, so this can be a bit confusing. We'll correct it later. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are 10 points I'd like to now come on why this is already a world war. First, 22 plus countries are directly or indirectly involved in this war already. This number is growing by the hour, and the scale of involvement is 2. If you look at indirect impact, this is 30 countries across the world. This is not a regional skirmish, therefore. This is a full-on retaliatory strike at an intensive scale. And the historical point to understand is that both World War I and II started off as what seemed like regional skirmishes, like it was seeming on Saturday, before it blew up into a full-scale war. Ladies and gentlemen, the countries hosting global bases of direct players are bearing the brunt. Global energy infrastructure is today under attack. If you see the map of the Strait of Hormuz, there is a clogging of the Strait of Hormuz in a way that has not been seen before. Therefore, as of this evening, global supply chains are in suspension. Iran has slammed the door on negotiation. There's no mediation in sight. The great powers are splitting into opposing camps. Trump is calling Keir Starmer names. This is a clear indication that the world is dividing because of this war. Allies and proxy allies are not solidly aligned. Most importantly, the war has reached the Indian Ocean. We saw what happened off the coast of Sri Lanka. Global stock markets and agencies are predicting sustained fallouts. The Dow has fallen, Goldman Sachs has issued warnings, the OPEC is seen scrambling. Even the body that adjudicates the laws of war says that presently a chain reaction is now underway. These 10 reasons, combined with the scale of involvement of various countries around the world, now reaching almost 30, makes this, in my view, already a world war. How is this, therefore, not a world war? If you're watching this video, the only thing I would say is it's a matter of time before half the world gets involved. After that, it's anyone's guess how this goes. Let's debate.
It began with preemptive US-Israeli strikes, taking out Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei.
Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries.
But now over 30 countries have been pulled in through military support, base access, or defense deployments, or strikes and destruction. From Europe to Asia, Israel and United States of America attacks have now triggered a cascading global response. The war zone now stretches from Red Sea to Eastern Mediterranean, from Turkey to Sri Lanka. Iran is now attacking beyond West Asia. Azerbaijan claims Iranian drones hit its Nakhchivan airport, wounding 4 people. Italy, Spain, France, and the Netherlands are sending naval assets to Cyprus. This comes after an attack on British Royal Air Force base on the island.
American planes are operating out of British bases. That is the special relationship in action. British jets are shooting down drones and missiles to protect American lives in the Middle East on our joint bases.
France has deployed a carrier group.
En plus des moyens déjà présents, des Rafales, des systèmes de défense antiaérienne et de radars aéroportés ont été déployés ces dernières heures. Et nous continuerons autant que de besoin cet effort.
Greece has sent fighter jets.
Αποστέλλεται άμεσα στην Κυπριακή Δημοκρατία. Η φρεγάτα Κίμων, μαζί με δεύτερη ελληνική φρεγάτα, η οποία θα φέρει το σύστημα Κένταυρος. Καθώς επίσης αποστέλλεται.
Italy is sending naval assets and providing air defense assistance to Gulf states. After saying no to war, Spain too is now sending its most advanced frigate to Cyprus. Beyond Europe, war tides have also reached Indian Ocean. US sunk an Iranian ship IRIS Dana 40 kilometers from the coast of Sri Lanka on Wednesday.
Yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death.
The conflict is rapidly taking the shape of a global war. Global economy is impacted. Oil prices are rising. Shipping routes blocked. and global trade feeling the shock. The question now is, are we watching another world war unfold through a network of alliances?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, General G.D. Bakshi, Einar Tangen for the China view, for the India view, General G.D. Bakshi, Nikita Menkovich for the Russia view. Velina Chakarova is a geopolitical strategist from Vienna in Austria. I hope to get the European view from her. We have senior journalist Alec Lemholke, who is joining us from Atlanta for the US perspective, and Avishag Avi will join in a bit. Till then, I have Saurabh Shukla, our chief consulting editor from Washington. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it has always been told to me that if I say this is a world war, I am being sensationalist. But as I see the war extending to the Caucasus, let me start with you, Saurabh. The war is now extended into the Caucasus. We have seen that oil pipelines which supply oil, 30% of the oil to Israel from Azerbaijan, have been struck and destroyed today. This tells me two things. One, that the war is spread into the Caucasus, it's a world war. Second, that there is a strategic mind in Iran which is carrying out these attacks, and these are not, as Pete Hegseth or Marco Rubio would have us believe, the Iranians flailing their hands and throwing their missiles wherever they can in one last act of desperation. It doesn't seem to be so. Your thoughts, please.
Arnab, thank you so much. I think where this war is headed certainly is much beyond a regional conflict now. I would, even if I hesitate to call it a world war, but I would say certainly it's a global conflict of a dimension we haven't seen in the recent past ever. I also agree that there is certainly a mind that is working beyond Iran of what is happening. The Iranian attacks
beyond Iran meaning?
Means I would say I won't put it past China, because I would say countries like China, they're getting directly impacted by this war more than anybody else. Their entire oil supplies, post Venezuela, post now Iran's oil supply is gone, which is the country which faces the biggest brunt, that's China. So even if they're not coming directly in the picture, as they did not do in the India-Pakistan war, which is now coming out to be true. I always said it on your network, beyond that it was their devious game. In some ways, I don't have empirical evidence at this moment, but I will have at some stage, because they tend to gain from this war, because they are the ones who are getting impacted because of this. And obviously, it's their devious designs behind it in some ways. If they come out in open, yes, this will turn into a world war. But for now, that's not happening. The weapon system. Where is the Iranian weapon system coming from? All the ballistic missile, all the defense systems that they had haven't been designed entirely by Iran on its own. It was the barter deal that they did with China and some extent Russia to get these weapon systems in place. That's a different thing, that their weapon system is getting exposed every day.
I would say that as usual, one second, Saurabh, yesterday, you always said the cat among the pigeons, and yesterday you had a fairly hot exchange with General Bakshi, who accused you of being a cheerleader.
Enormously, and he does it
louder, please. Can I have the fallback louder in the studio, Aditya and Niranjan? Yeah. Now, today you have said that China is remote controlling this. China says, quite unabashedly, that it does not have the ability to strike beyond its borders. Einar Tangen has said that 10 times every day on my shows for the last few days. Einar, Saurabh feels, and the world feels, the large section of people across the world believe now that there is an indirect involvement of China in terms of guiding the direction of the war while at the same time asking for peace.
Well, I mean, obviously, SARF doesn't have any evidence of this. I could speculate on a million different things. Maybe it's aliens, but let's stick to the facts. China did not engineer the U.S. or Israel striking Iran. That has been long building up for over a long period of time. In terms of what's happening, I agree with you. This is a world war, but it's being waged by Iran, and it's asymmetrical. The U.S. definitely has the upper hand in terms of the military. They have certainly been very clever in terms of arranging it so that Iran felt they had nothing to lose. But what is Iran's game? I don't hear that from many people. And this is what I would suggest to you. They're desperate. They're fighting for their home. They have said repeatedly that they're going to inflict damage. Well, if they can't do it militarily, I think they're trying to do it economically. If you start looking at the Middle East, if you cut off, the Straits of Hormuz, you're cutting off a lot of, of the food that goes to Saudi Arabia, many other places. Yes, they can find other routes. It's going to take some time. But let us say that the Iranians attacked. They've already attacked the oil facilities. Let's say they attack the water facilities. 60% of the water disappears. Saudi Arabia, they rely on these water systems. If they go, there's nothing to replace it. They wouldn't be able to, and that would have an effect between that and the oil of making the Middle East very hot. The supply of petrodollars that are keeping the United States afloat would disappear. And when that happens, a couple of things. One, there's no support for the dollar in terms of countries who are willing to buy these treasuries. And then there's also the other part where, this would literally dry up the system. And when that happens, the U.S. is going to be in very, very difficult straits. Debt issues, the U.S. dollar, oil going higher and higher. There's going to be discontent at home in the United States. So I think Iran's stated purpose is to inflict as much damage, and they're willing to take the whole rest of the world with them. They've made one exception.
It's also entirely possible here today, not with an accusatory tone, but realistically speaking, though China wants to project itself as America's best well-wisher, it's not. It's in a global power struggle with the U.S. And why wouldn't, Eric, why wouldn't China take advantage of the lack of maturity in the American political leadership, the ability to get provoked to go into action, whether on Israel's behest or on Saudi Arabia's behest, get into a war, because you're dealing with an individual who's both an egoist and a narcissist. And therefore, when you deal with such individuals, coupled with the fact that they are headline grabbers, you can provoke them into a situation and then watch quietly from the sidelines and say, we have nothing in this fight. But who's the beneficiary of all this, Eric? It's China. If you look at who's the economic beneficiary, China. Geopolitical beneficiary, China. Who loses out economically? Everyone except the American defense companies. So my question to you is, just your opening remarks, is this a world war already?
I'm inclined to agree with your graphics at the beginning of the show. I think you've made a compelling case as to whether or not we are in a world war. It does appear, as rapid as we've gone from beginning to where we're at now, it does appear that we are either in a world war or we are very close to the brink of a world war. Everyone seems to be coming to the table where at the beginning everyone was kind of hesitant. England was hesitant. France didn't want any part of it. Germany didn't want anything to do with it. And now all of a sudden you're seeing our old allies coming together, mainly from Iran's own military strategy, if you want to call it that. I'm still not real sure what their plan is for attack, other than to bring people who weren't going to get involved and bring them in to attack them. So I'm struggling with that. as to why they would choose that route, because with the amount of countries that are now involved, with China not coming in and helping directly, or Russia not having the ability to come in and help directly, it just seems like Iran is heading for a clear-cut decimation of their military. This is 100%, I believe, is going to end up in a regime change at the end. But I do believe we are in a world war now. Yes.
Yes, I think. I mean, I mean, as far as the Russians are concerned, Eric, why should they step in? Because they are in a win-win situation right now. The world will be craving for every drop of Russian oil. One, Russian oil routes will be opened again. And unless there is a direct attack on Russian sovereign interests or their pipelines, they don't have to get involved. They'll make money out of this. Secondly, as is being increasingly argued geopolitically, Russia gains because Russia can say, we were right in Ukraine. We were right in Ukraine all along. Your position right now ends all the confusion about a rules-based order and all the lectures that were given to the rest of the world right now. Is this a world war already? General Bakshi, are we in the middle of World War III already? Are we just being too cautious in defining it as one?
Arnab, it is a full-scale regional war already, heading towards world war. If you recall, Arnab, at your conclave last year, I had made this, stuck my neck out and said, we are quite likely to get into a World War III kind of a situation. May I just tell you that if I was the Chinese military, I would wait for this to get over and then go hell for leather for Taiwan. Or the South China Sea.
Yeah.
You know, Taiwan, South China Sea, I would go hell for leather. And by that time, the United States would be so exhausted that they would not be able to do a damn. They would not be able to do a damn. They have created this situation for themselves by being over-eager to wage wars. Donald Trump came on the promise that he would usher in an era of peace. He was a candidate for the Nobel Peace Prize. 9 countries he's attacked already. 9 countries he's attacked already. And actually, if you go purely by logic, this is a very, very pernicious argument. We will destroy our nation state, not just regime change. You are working for nation state destruction. You are arming the Kurds, you are arming the Baluchis, you are arming the Azeris. You are saying we will go for nation state destruction. A 2,000-year-old civilizational state will be destroyed. If it defends itself, my God, it is evil. How evil to defend yourself? Actually, it is a bit of a bizarre joke. This logic is a bit of a bizarre joke. You see, previously they were rushing, the NATO was rushing into these conflicts, right? This time it had to be cajoled, prodded by the United States, threatened by Donald Trump. I haven't liked it that Britain hasn't jumped in straight away. So slowly, these unwilling warriors are also being drawn in. As far as Iran is concerned, what do you expect it to do? What options does it have? Iran's options are, it will raise costs and consequences for the United States. It knows it is totally outclassed qualitatively, quantitatively. Its only hope lies in waging an economic war to raise the costs for the rest of the world so that they will be forced to intervene and call this madness off. Let me just take the case of India. 50% of let the other countries speak for themselves. 50% of our oil supplies come from the Gulf of Hormuz. 60% of our natural gas, every house, every chula in this country works on natural gas. That comes from there. The price of oil is about to touch $100 a barrel. The moment it does, inflation will start going up globally. The global economy will take a hit.
One minute.
The United States economy will take a hit.
In a world war situation, the war will be prolonged. There will be moments of relative peace, but the issues will remain unresolved. World wars, let me remind you, continue for years with consequences that nobody can game. And World War I, for example, was regional skirmishes. What did people say then? They said it's not a world war. It's just a little fight in the Balkan region between Balkan states and Austria, Hungary, Bosnia, Herzegovina. And then it blew up with the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, and then it became much bigger than anyone could plan. We are believing that it's going through a cycle and it's going to get resolved. But Velina Chakarova, you have the history of Europe right there behind you. And now, with the reach and vectors, nature of missiles, nature of pinpointed attack, we saw the attack on the Sri Lankan coast yesterday, just 300 kilometers from India. Is this a world war already? Are we dealing with the consequences of the first stage of the Third World War?
Thank you very much for the invitation. Now let me present my thesis, what I think is playing out, not only in this particular flashpoint, but actually in terms of interconnected flashpoints. Indeed, there is a world war, but not the one that most of the analysts and media outlets are highlighting, namely a World War III. And the two reasons why it is a world war, but not a World War III, it's a new Cold War. That means Cold War 2.0 are as follows. First important reason why it's actually not World War III is that there is less incentive or almost zero incentive on behalf of the United States and China and Russia to get involved in a direct kinetic confrontation, and that's actually good news for the whole of the world. So both sides, both blocks, if you wish, both systems with their alliances and structures and partners are basically now in this kind of situation of, let's say, new power equilibrium. That is why a new Cold War, where there is a lot of incentive to compete against each other. That is why we are observing the highest number of military conflicts and proxy wars, and now with Iran being the most recent example of such flashpoint. But all of this is happening below the threshold of a direct kinetic confrontation between the Americans, the Chinese, and the Russians. And let me be very clear, the Chinese and the Russians, they have already built some sort of non-Western or anti-Western power center where they have also split roles, they have built up a different kind of fields, and they have also invested in partnerships and allies. And Iran is a very, very clear example of such a partner for both China and Russia. And the second important reason why I claim that this is not World War III, and I think this is also very good news for our audience and actually for humankind, is the possession of nuclear weapons. These are rational actors, again, both sides, even though that, some might claim that right now there are no control regimes, as it was the case during the first Cold War. Most of the international regimes that have been more or less observing and trying to keep, of course, a certain threshold and most of all nuclear exchange from not happening, they are now no longer in place. But I argue that at some point of time in the future, amid the new conventional and nuclear arms race between these three great powers, the triumvirate of great power politics right now, that's actually happening only and solely at the system level of international relations, at, if you wish, the tip of the iceberg.
If we have to avoid a world war, then the question will be, how do you open up the Strait of Hormuz this is the world's most critical energy checkpoint. Either the Americans are going to have to provide cover to the Strait of Hormuz, or within 1 month there will be complete panic. Avishag Avi from Israel, from an Israeli perspective, has Israel started World War III? It's not about Iran alone now.
Arnab. So according to the Israeli perspective, we see it as the purely defensive war against Iran and its stated goal to annihilate the only Jewish state. So we don't see it as we have started a world war, a third world war, even though I do agree with some of the previous speakers that we do see some signs to not a regional, but more a global one, a global war. And it's solely because of Iran's decision to drag.
Please just give me a break. Yeah, I can hear you. I was just being disturbed by my producer. Sorry, thank you, please.
Okay. So I'm saying that it's the reason that we are seeing this war expanded beyond what it's supposed to be. It's because Iran has decided that they are going to drag the entire region, or as far as their missile capability is able to reach, they will drag the entire region and beyond towards this war. And I think we have to make a distinguish between regular, the previous world wars that we have to the one we are seeing right now.
1 minute, let me ask you. If a similar attack was to destroy the entire Israeli leadership and Iran were to be behind that attack, would the people of Israel, would the government of Israel just sit down and plead for peace?
Of course not, but you are comparing two different... Excuse me, Arnab,
would Israel not use its entire...
Can I answer your question?
Would Israel not use it? No, you have to be clear. So I find this fascinating, that today people in America, people in Israel are saying, we are shocked that Iran is responding. Well, I am shocked that you expected...
No, we are not shocked.
I am shocked that you expected Iran to capitulate.
I don't know
today, if that were to happen to Russia,
we are not shocked.
Today, if this attack were to happen in Russia, if this attack were to happen in Poland, any country in the world, they would not sit quiet. I mean, you're looking at things too much from your perspective.
Excuse me, I did not say that we are shocked, or know anyone that I know say that they are shocked. We are not a naive nation. We live in the Middle East and we won multiple wars, to gain our independence. So we are not shocked, and we are absolutely aware of what Iran might do.
But you expected this to be a regional war. You expected to be a regional war, and it's not a regional war. It's a world war, and Iran is a very useful proxy for powerful countries like Russia and China, who will use Iran for its advantage. And that is a fact. Nikita may not like it, but they always say, don't get into a fight that you can't win. It doesn't apply to you. You have, one minute. The general analysis, everyone on please, is that this is the best timing for Netanyahu, because he's got huge challenges. There's an election coming up. And you'll never get an American president like Trump. You will never get a reckless American president like Trump who can be pushed over the edge. Someone with the military insanity of Pete Hegseth, who is a combination between Rambo and a self-styled Top Gun, who is an embarrassment every time that he speaks, who says the rules-based order did not operate. I remind you today, Avishag, that even after Germany was vanquished, at that time, even after Hiroshima, even after Germany lost, there were the Nuremberg trials. Goering was not just killed. There was at least a semblance of making things look like there is a rules-based order. You have American President and Defense Secretary who say, who cares about the rule-based order? It's a free-for-all. So, you know, the
May
thing
I
is,
respond to that?
It was the best ever timing for Netanyahu. It was the best ever timing. Use Trump. He's a volatile guy.
It was the best
he's a huge
timing
narcissist.
for
Push him over the edge. Achieve your political goals. Achieve your political goals before he becomes a lame duck president after the midterm in the US. This is a reality. And it's fantastic planning from Netanyahu, but terrible for the people of America, as one will soon realize, because America can't end this war now. Nikita, I know you don't like what I'm saying, but these are all realities. What do you think? Isn't this a world war already?
In my opinion, of course, I have nothing to say against what you said about Trump aggressive policy. But we should understand, the world war isn't a new thing. It continues for more than 20 years. You remember Afghanistan, you remember Iraq, Libya, Serbia, and other countries attacked by NATO and US. Iran is just one next countries. Of these countries that US looks, see a lot of oil and say, a lot of oil, no democracy, let's capture them, let's conquer them. Oh, Israel, a good thing. A little guy, you should help us to conquer more oil for our business. It is what exactly happening at the world for more than 20 years. Because after USSR has gone, it is not one strong power who can oppose United States aggression, who can say, we have enough troops to send there and to block your activity. It is a problem. So now we should think, we have Third World War, and if we don't want it to become nuclear, if you don't want this war to come to your house, and if you don't want your children to be killed as hundreds of girls in Mina killed by American aviation, we should think how to stop United States. And the first step to stop this terrible world war, all of our countries should say, no military cooperation with the United States, no American soldiers or military bases on our territory. United States Army is a criminal terrorist gang, and we should not
overstating things. Let's be realistic, Nikita. Nikita. Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic here. Let's be realistic here. Trump is only following in Putin's footsteps. Trump is doing what you did to Ukraine. He's gone a little more overboard. Putin didn't assassinate Zelensky. Trump has assassinated Ayatollah Khomeini.
No.
It's a reality. I mean, you never like this comparison, but the fact is.
Arnab, I'd like to finish my speech, please. Of course, you can mention Ukraine as another example of American aggression. In Ukraine and Syria, they still hardly use those troops, but they take local terrorist criminal gangs, pretends to be Syrian army or Ukrainian army. In fact, United States plays the same game on Ukraine. They want to take this land and those resources. And Russian and Ukrainian people are fighting back against American aggression. This war came to our homes because of United States aggressive policy. And India may be next.
Now, anyway, let's Nikita. Are we all in agreement? Because Nikita, may I just?
India is going to be next hour now. Please understand it. You should be responsible. You shouldn't play these games and pretend it to be a joke. You should do something to prevent American aggression against your country.
No, I mean, what do you expect India to do here in this? I mean, like, don't drag us into every battle of yours. One sec. Saurabh.
You know, Nikita, India can defend itself. That let me say that. You know, there is a policy of strategic autonomy India has had for years, and they are implementing it even in this war, despite the fact what India has done. people know, and that is respected. So I think you should not be selling your cheap narrative, trying to tell the world that India is next. India is well capable of defending, as it showed during Operation Sindoor when it struck Pakistan. And that operation, as India's Prime Minister has said, can bounce back. India's Prime Minister was one of the only leader who had the courage to beat Israel just ahead of the war. But they also had somewhere where India's Foreign Secretary goes and signs the condolence book at the Iranian embassy. So that's a different model of strategic autonomy that India has. So you should not even tread on that territory, and you should not be preaching to India. That's my limited point. And one more point coming quickly to the China thing, and I want to tell Ainar about the empirical evidence that I have.
You have evidence of what? 1 minute. You have evidence of what, Saurabh?
Of why cities like Dubai were deliberately targeted. It was not the Iranian hand. There was a flood of capital happening from Hong Kong after China enforced the national security law. Almost $78 billion of capital was being flooded. And where was this going to? Dubai. Dubai was the big financial epicenter and that city gets targeted for a deliberate reason. It's not Iran alone. It's not the strategic assets. Airports getting hit, hotels getting hit. Obviously.
Are you saying that? Are you suggesting?
Absolutely.
There are two ways of saying it. There are two ways of saying it. There are two ways of saying it. That if Dubai gets hit, Chinese economic interests are, it helps China.
No,
but there's another thing to say that there was a Chinese hand behind Dubai's civilian targets being hit.
See,
all right,
Dubai was taking away a lot of Chinese flood of capital that was coming out of Hong Kong. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, you're an idiot. Anyway, let me respond. The fact is
No. You don't have to be personal. I mean, see, everybody has the right to analyze things, Ainar. Let's avoid the idiot word here. It was not necessary. We'll expunge that.
Whoever you are, sir, don't get into this petty name calling. Get some cogent facts out, okay?
Okay, so here are the facts. UAE and China have a very, very close relationship, not only in trade, but they also, in terms of economics. It is one of the few places that has a renminbi settlement facility right there. They have been trying over these many years to be an access point for Chinese goods going into Africa. They've said repeatedly that they want to have 52 out of the 57 countries. They want to have representatives there in Africa, and they want to work closely with China. So this idea that you have, I don't know where you got your numbers, but the point is that they have a very good relationship. I know the people involved in terms of the ambassadorial level. You obviously do not, and you're just speculating. This idea that somehow China is always the evil person. Well, how is that possible? How did they get Donald Trump to start bombing Iran? I thought the negotiations were going well.
Let me counter you on that. China is
anything to say.
That China is the apostle of truth and is a unification in the world. That's wrong, sir. What happened in Pahalgam? Now the Indian investigators are coming to the truth that there was a Chinese connection even behind the Pahalgam attack, which led to the confrontation between India and Pakistan.
Do you have any?
Yes.
You say these
the
things, but you produce
GoPro was purchased in China. So let me tell you that your country does not have the courage.
I don't want to listen to your nonsense.
Ainar, let me put it differently. Let me put it differently, Saurabh. Let me put it differently to Ainar in a way that may be more palatable for him. Ainar, let me step in on this.
It's insulting.
Ainar, may I just
if he has facts, fine.
Ainar, may I just step in on this, please, for a moment, everyone on. Ainar, is there some divine constellation in the world somewhere? Is there some divine force somewhere? Is there some universal tarot card somewhere which always makes sure that whether it is COVID, which started in China but affected the rest of the world, right? Whether
so you're saying that they started COVID
whether
in
it is a 1 minute. See, you're getting provoked. You must not get provoked. You must listen to my question. I find
Arnab,
allow me to please complete that China without lifting a finger visibly. Allow me, see, Einar, when I hear the other side, then I'm fine. When I ask a question, here, and this question is, let me tell you, this question in the minds of people from San Francisco to New Delhi, that China always wants to win a war without committing a single foot on the ground. China wants to get a global advantage without hurting its own people, which is why the COVID virus being tested in a Chinese facility wiped out people in India, in the United Kingdom, in Europe, and in the USA before we found the technology and the vaccines to help ourselves, and India helped people all over the world. Now, my question being, or rather observation, whether it is COVID or it is Pakistan's terrorist attack, right, on India, or whether it is the unfortunate developments that led to the attack on Israelis on October 7th, which, by the way, happened just a few days after the announcement of the India-Middle East corridor, which would have destroyed the Belt and Road Initiative and the billions and trillions of dollars that China has invested in the BRI. Whenever there is any threat to China, magically, Iran helps, Hezbollah helps, or COVID helps, or Pakistani terrorists help. And then China says, listen, we don't know, we just believe in Confucius. We don't know what's going on. We feel very sorry for you that you got wiped out. We feel very sorry that the Hezbollah killed the people. It's accidental that it happened a few days after Narendra Modi announced the Indian Middle East corridor. We're very sorry that Hindus were attacked by jihadi terrorists. We're very sorry, but it's just that the world is on our side. Things happen, you see. And then after that, China says, we don't even know what's going on in Iran. We just want a return to peace and peace and peace. And look here, Einar. I'll tell you one thing. I'll prophesize what will happen. You will benefit from all of this, and then you will attack Taiwan.
You have a problem with the United States, and somehow you want to make it all about China.
Who has a problem with the United States? Who has a problem with the United States? No, but who has a problem with the United States?
Obviously you do.
Who?
Because
I personally, or who?
Some reason.
My network or our country?
You're trying to find some reason to blame China.
No, we don't. First of all, we have no problem with the United States. We have a problem with an eternal and unbearable narcissist called Trump. There's no problem with the U.S. We've signed a trade deal with them.
All right. So here's the thing. Did China, incite any kind of riots in Nepal, in Bangladesh? Are there any fingerprints of the Chinese, or are they the U.S.?
No, I'll tell you what happened in Bangladesh because I have personal knowledge of this. In Bangladesh, you put Bangladesh in a debt trap. The Americans intervened. They wanted St. Martin Island. They carried out the regime change. You did not help Sheikh Hasina, though she went to you for help. She went to you for help. You dropped her like a hot potato, like you do with all countries who you put in a debt trap.
No, but Arnab, seriously think about it. You always come on and you always have some narrative about how India is a victim. It's a wonderful place.
No, wonderful. India is absolutely not a victim. India has given China, India is the only military which has given the Chinese army a bloody nose and sent you back packing. No, I don't want to get into war with you on this program. But don't tell me, you know the military strength of the Indians, which you experienced in Galwan and Doklam, and the Chinese were inept in dealing with the Indian army. Please, don't get me into this. And you don't expect me to believe that China did not have a role in provoking and encouraging the Pakistanis. You want to fight indirect battles with India? You wanted to use Pakistan? Why don't you come to Pakistan's help now when they are fighting Afghanistan?
Evidence? Or are you just going to spout?
No, I'm not. You put me in this direction.
No.
I'm a pleasant guy. I'm discussing a potential world war which will benefit you economically.
And pretend that you have some sort of evidence. Please, why don't you tell everybody right now exactly how you came to these conclusions? How is it that China is behind everything when in fact you're facing off against the United States.
Listen.
Explain this.
Okay, one minute. Einar, see. I'm not getting into a quiz. I'm not getting into a quiz contest with you. But I'll rather bring my American guest into the debate, because why should you and I get into a quarrel? We don't have a quarrel individually.
You seem to be
the question is, do you not believe, Eric, that if I'm sure
saying
it's
these nonsensical things.
See,
why? What's the point?
Trump is a very easily provoked guy. You'll never have a president like. Am I wrong, Eric?
That we are missing the point.
Abhishek, another American president wouldn't be as reckless as Trump.
I think you are missing the point in this entire show, okay? Whoever has a thing with America is Iran, and we are here to talk about Iran, okay? And its genocidal intent towards Israel.
Who's behind Iran?
Who's
behind
benefits, Iran? We don't know. I agree with the American speaker that we don't know who is behind Iran, but there is no doubt. There is no doubt.
China is not behind Iran, Eric.
Chinese, excuse me, can I finish my sentence? There is no doubt that the Chinese and the Russian bloc are benefiting from all of it. There is no doubt about that. But we don't know. We don't have the facts, okay? So let's focus on Iran right now and what they are trying to do. They are trying to create, because militarily they cannot...
Abhishek, may I please, 1 minute, may I please? You don't expect me to believe. Eric, let me get Eric in. Nobody wants me to let Eric is, I don't believe that Iran is operating on its own. Nobody believes Iran is operating on its own. Even Iran does not believe that Iran is operating on its own. It's a global war right now. Some visible, some invisible. Eric.
So I think we can draw a comparison. We're not going to be able to definitively say China has their fingerprints on anything. I'm not privy to that intelligence. I don't have a security clearance like that. So I'm not going to be able to point a finger at anybody, but I do believe that the way that the system's set up, you have the BRICS nations. India is part of BRICS, just as America is part of the UN and NATO. We have these coalitions. There are coalitions. So when there's issues in other countries, the NATO forces tend to meddle in each other's business to help each other out or whatnot. I would be willing to say that the probability of another country within the BRICS organizations that is assisting Iran in some sort of way is probably high.
General Bakshi, coming to you last. What do you think will happen by the weekend? Will this drag?
Yeah. Arnab, we go by past patterns in making a forecast. A pattern-based forecast. Last time in June last year, 2025, the battle lasted 12 days, right? It was a mathematical function of the missile equations on both sides. How many missiles does Iran have, offensive missiles, vis-a-vis how many missiles interceptors do China, missile interceptors do the United States and Israel have. It is a pure mathematical equation.
No, but I just have a breaking news from Trump. He has just said, and this is very embarrassing.
Stock is limited.
Trump has said now, General Bakshi.
10 days and I see both sides at a point.
Trump is now looking very pathetic.
Both sides at a point
Trump has said, I need to be personally involved in selecting Iran's next leader. Khamenei's son is a lightweight. I was involved in choosing Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela. Please ask me. I want to be involved in the appointment. Ladies and gentlemen, this is pathetic.
He had also said, I am the president of Venezuela.
No, but I don't know why he's talking like this. Somebody needs to get him on Grammarly. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for this discussion. It is surely a third world war. But as of now, a bigger war is being fought on Truth Social. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night and goodbye.
For a quick breather, Arnab will be right back with the debate.